joined now by someone who is, in terms of Doctor Who, worked with the two most recent Doctors, both as a supporting artist and as a monster. So I would like to introduce James O'Neill. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Not bad, thanks. And are you missing the joys of sets at the moment, or is it quite nice to be, doing your own thing for a bit?
Oh, I'm missing it massively. For me, it's not just the fact of being on set and doing a job I love. It's the social side of things. I'm doing it for a few years, eight or 9 years now, and everyone I work with are my friends. So yeah, massively missing it massively. To be honest, yeah.
Well, hopefully we can return to some sort of normality sooner rather than later. But yeah. I was wondering, how did you first get into being a supporting artist?
Well, I used to be a builder, a roofer, but I have various health issues, which I physically just couldn't do the work anymore. So I was out of work, and my girlfriend said, well, why don't you try doing like TV extra work, supporting artist work? So I signed up, and my first day on set, absolutely loved it. And I thought, this is what I want to do. So, so I've just stuck with it. Instead of getting a proper full-time job, I'm sort of doing the job I enjoy. So, yeah, it's good.
Fantastic. So, you're based in Bristol. So are you finding that you can do a lot in Bristol and Cardiff, or have you had to travel far afield?
Yeah. Well, when I first started, I would just go everywhere. But then I realised, unless you've got a real a long time on a job, it's just not worth it. So I just stay local now. But yeah, so mainly my majority of my work is in Cardiff, which is great, which I enjoy. Cardiff's a great city.
So I suppose it was inevitable then that you would come into contact with Doctor Who at some point. Was it a show that you're particularly aware of?
Yeah, it was. I didn't think I would ever get on it, to be quite honest, because there's such a great opportunity. And when I did, I was over the moon. It was great. And
your first encounter was sort of as yourself, a supporting artist part with Peter Capaldi. How was it to then make it onto set then?
Oh, it was brilliant. And he was a great doctor as well. He was very personal. So you'd see you, at breakfast having a trader would come over and say, hello, I'm Peter, nice to meet you, have a little chat about the day, which I think goes a long way for a supporting artist when the main actor can come over and be really social with you.
But it wasn't long before you're doing supporting artist work as yourself, so that you find yourself doing prosthetic work. So how did that transition come about?
I think I just fitted the bill. I think I fitted in the shape they wanted. And once they knew I could do the prosthetic work and handle it, because it's quite physically demanding, it sort of just spiraled from there.
And with something like that, did you get, you'll say, obviously, you're the right sort of shape and build for the part, but how much time do you get to work with the prosthetic beforehand? Or is it just first day of shoot, in you get sort of thing?
Yeah, you usually have a fit in first to make sure you fit into the costume, or they can make the adjustments and make sure you're comfortable with whatever prosthetic you've got on you, because make sure you haven't got any allergies, or you can actually handle being in a restricted suit for sometimes up to 10 hours maybe on numerous days. You sort of have to fit in and see if you can hack it, really. It's a great honour, but I find it very physically and mentally demanding.
Because in terms of Doctor Who, your first prosthetic work was as a monk, which had an awful lot of location filming as well. So did you find that any Doctor Who filming has an audience? How did people immediately respond to you in costume? That must have been very bizarre. Yeah.
Well, when you first go onto set, you do get a lot of looks and comments, because it's even new to the crew. They haven't seen this monster before. But after a while, it's just like second nature. It's like you're there. You don't sound like you just sort of fit into the environment. As strange as it sounds.
And something like that was a sort of a head and hands monster, of which the rest was a costume that I imagine wasn't too restrictive. How were the monk costumes to work with?
The costumes themselves were okay, and they weren't very restrictive, but the mask was very restrictive. There is a set mold. And you when you're in there, you're not coming out easily. So yeah, so once you had your helmet on or your mask on, say in the morning, we won't take it off till lunchtime probably. More than likely, might give you a little break here and there, but generally for the effort, taking it on and off, it's just sort of left on. I mean, some people just stayed in it all day. I mean, my friend Tim Reed, he would put the mask on him, but he wouldn't take it off. He would take off to eat, obviously, but apart from that, he wouldn't have any breaks, which I didn't do. I had to have the little bit of fresh air or
and I imagine people, at Millennium Effects and also on the set, are very aware of the limitations and the restrictions. Are they quite helpful?
Well, Millennium Effects are brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and they do take a lot of care over you as a supporting artist, and the mask you got on, and over their products they make as well. Because obviously they don't want us ripping off the masks they spent hours creating, do they? But they do take a lot of care on their product and us as supporting artists or monsters. So
did you find that once you've done one monster part, Millennium Effects bears your mind, the BBC bears your mind, once you've done that first one, do other things sort of come naturally then?
Yeah. Once they know you can do it and then you fit into it, it's good. We did actually go up to the Millennium Effects for a fitting as well. So we went up to their studio and had a look around. That was really good, interesting. So they do a lot of stuff, don't they?
Oh yeah, not just television, but films, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
So did you know people before doing monster work yourself that did a lot of prosthetics? Were they able to give you sort of tips of what to do?
Yeah. There was a few people that did similar stuff before, and they would just give advice saying, make sure you have your brakes, or it's going to be like this, and get in the right frame of mind. So that helps, definitely. So imagine if you were quite a claustrophobic person and you didn't have the right support around you, you could just absolutely freak out. And people have done. I know people have done a lot of monster work, and they've come in a certain costume for some reason. They just couldn't hack it. But it's the same with everything, isn't it? I guess. Yeah.
Because more recently you were one of the Kasavin, which I suppose is more of a costume than prosthetics.
Yeah.
Again, would that have been a similar process of fittings or do you sort of approach that from a costume point of view and it's on that day?
Yeah, that one was on the day. It sort of got fitted on the day and sort of adjusted to it. Yeah, but yeah. I think some people must have got fitted for it, but I didn't on that one. That was just on the day job. This is what you're doing. Go and do it. But because I had previously had the experience, I sort of knew what was going on. And also, when you get booked, they tend not to give a lot away because everything's such top secret, especially on Doctor Who. So yeah, if you haven't had the fitting before, sometimes it's just a surprise.
Because I remember those costumes that they did actually light up. It wasn't all done in post-production.
Yeah.
Were they quite a restrictive one to working? Because of course you've got lights and cabling. It's not just a costume.
Yeah. So first of all, they put like a base layer of clothing on you. Then it was like a skin tight sort of latexy costume. Then we had something else. The lights on top of that, then netting on top of the lights, and another suit on top of that again. And all the lights were made of strips of LEDs, but only thin ones. But they kept breaking, so we always had a electrical engineer fixing the broken lights. Because of course, if you've got loads of lights and some are broken, it's going to look odd, isn't it? So that was quite a bit of a challenge. Sometimes you would be in the costume, and then it would be an hour and a half messing around with the costume just to make sure it was all right. Because if it's Millennium Effects, I think it's Millennium FX, and then the BBC came in and done the electrics for it, which yeah, it was a bit different, definitely. When someone's soldering a bit of electrical wire on you just before you're going to be plugged in the rain, it was challenging. Yeah.
Because I remember filming some of that, and it was bitter. It was cold, wet, windy. Were those costumes actually quite good insulators? Because it sounds like you had a lot of layers on.
Yeah, to a certain degree, but after a while, when the cold sets in, you're freezing. And a lot of the time, I mentally block out what's going on just so I can get on with my job and just get focused and be in this character, creating it and doing your job. So yeah, I can't remember it being cold. So it must have been pretty well insulated. Yeah. I think they give us a blanket to chuck around our shoulders at one point. That's about it.
So it must be nice to have that combination of monster work and sort of more straightforward supporting artist work as well, though.
Yeah.
Amongst all of your Doctor Who work, you've shot at Daleks. You've been in photos as friends of Clara. You've done all sorts of things. Is there one that perhaps stands out?
I quite liked the shooting at the Daleks one because I was one of the main people that were firing the machine gun, so I offloaded like a full magazine. That was pretty cool. Made it onto the trailer for it as well. So I jumped off the back of the truck and fired it. Quite enjoyed that. I've enjoyed them all. I think the monster work is just something else. There's something different about it you'll never experience. But the shooting outside of being monster, really, really good time. All of it was really good. I mean, they're probably the best crew and production staff Doctor Who around. I mean, I've done a lot of work, and you feel welcome because some jobs you do extra work, and especially on the big jobs, you can get sort of pushed to one side, and you don't really feel you're a part of something. But with Doctor Who, you feel instantly welcome. Everyone treats you nicely, speaks to you nicely. It does make a big difference. But again, they've been working together, the group of Doctor Who, the production team and stuff, for a long time, and I think they've got the balance right there.
Because I imagine if you've just been told a sort of date, location, and very little about the story, that welcoming sort of family feel must make a hell of a difference. Going into something effectively cold to it. Yeah,
it does. Yeah, I think it's the same in any sort of workplace environment. If you feel more comfortable with the people around you, you're going to enjoy it. You're going to give a lot better performance, or your time's going to be more dedicated to getting the right project. So yeah, just to make a difference.
Because I imagine Doctor Who, there's a lot of elements. There's special effects, prosthetics, that perhaps other productions don't have. So having done quite a bit of it, does it prepare you well for other jobs?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and it's just nice to have the experience and say I've done this, and it's such a prestigious show that everyone recognises the challenges to make that right.
And amongst supporting artists, is it quite a coup to be able to say you've done Doctor Who? Is it seen as a particularly interesting show?
Yes, it is. Everyone wants to do it, no matter who you speak to around the world. That's the show to be on, isn't it?
Because also, particularly the monster work, you were a Mondasian Cyberman, which I remember at the time, it was all over the news, the papers, particularly in Cardiff. It was a big deal. Are you able to say anything at the time, or do you have to sort of nod and keep quiet?
Well, but you sign an NDA, so you're prosecuted if you do legally. But then you get the group of people that you're doing the Mondasian Cybermen with, or the Cybermen, any Cybermen with, and you don't need to, because you've got your own little group, your own little family, and you could talk about it among yourself. So, and a lot of people who do the monster work value that work they do so much that you don't you don't tell people. You might tell your people you live with or close family relatives, but you don't go shouting it out on the on the internet or social media or something.
Something like the Cybermen, it was an established character. Do you have sort of movement workshops, or do you just sort of figure it out on the day?
Yeah, movement workshops. How to walk properly. We worked with, I can't remember her name. Is it Elsa? Worked with Elsa. I can't remember her surname, but she's the main coordinator for doing the monster. So yeah, to walk in a certain way, and then we practice that, and even down to the movements, because they don't move like the modern Cybermen, do they? And it's just getting that right.
Because with those characters, you also had sort of the patient stage that were half human, half Cyberman, and there was a great sort of progression from one to the other.
Yeah.
Were they easier than the Cybermen?
The costume was a lot easier, but you couldn't really see anything. I did one. We were walking down a hall with one of the lead actors at the time, and you've got like little pinholes to see out of, and you've got to get your timing right and your positioning right, walking down some sort of corridor, and you're like, oh my god, what's going on? Yeah. I did have a tough time on there. I was stuck when we were transforming. They put me in a wheelchair in a dark room, and I think I fell asleep at one point. It was still filming, but they just left me there because I think I just fitted in, because they're props as well. I just sort of like fitted into the background. I was just like move now and again. But it did have problems afterwards because there was no like airflow, and the pressure was out when you came out of the costume. It takes you a few hours sometimes to adjust to being in a normal environment. Because if you can imagine, your ears control a lot of your pressure, don't you? Your balance and stuff like that. As soon as that's blocked off, it can affect you.
But obviously, in the case of the patients, you're just doing such a good job that, that's proper acting. They didn't notice.
Yeah. So
is that prosthetic work something you'd like to do more of and perhaps focus on?
Yeah, but I don't. There's not like a huge amount out there, really. I mean, the main production in our area is Doctor Who with prosthetic work. I mean, you get a lot of movies up in London that use it, but yeah, that's the main thing. Yeah, I wouldn't turn it down. I enjoy it. If there's more out there, like a whole series, people in prosthetics, whatever, yeah, I'm up for it.
And I suppose what is unique to Doctor Who is the sort of live events when you get an immediate reaction from the audience. How are those to do?
Well, I've only done one. It was good. Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. I had a quite easy job, so it wasn't as tough as the other guys that were doing it. But yeah, it's the first time I did a live show, and I enjoyed doing it. Yeah, I would love to do some more as well if they ever did a live tour again.
So was that part of the Doctor Who live? Because you were an Ood, am I right in thinking?
Yeah, it wasn't part of the live. It was a showcase for the BBC where they sell products over the world. So there was like, I can't remember how many, 8 to 10 of us who had our own little roles to do in a certain amount of time. But that was good. Seeing the rehearsals and how the whole environment set up was good. And I hope they bring back the Mondasians, because they only were in that one series, weren't they? But,
yeah, it certainly went down very well. So you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
But in the sort of atmosphere of the BBC showcase, it's probably a room full of very important business people with some probably with a lot of money. Does it surprise you that you can put on a Doctor Who mask and suddenly you get a very perhaps unprofessional response from them?
Yeah. I was at Ood, and I was just constantly people coming up taking photos and stuff like that. My son it's always like an older gentleman. Oh, my kids really love the Oods, and you're thinking, no, definitely not. But it's nice to see the reach Doctor Who has, throughout the world, how people react to it, because they were very enthusiastic and loved and everyone loved the whole event.
But do you find you get interest about things like Atlantis and other shows that you've done, or is Doctor Who the one that you normally get asked about?
Yeah, it's more Doctor Who. If you say you've been on Doctor Who, everyone wants to know, and everyone's a fan, or someone in someone's family is always a mega fan, aren't they? Or really appreciate the show. Yeah, that's the main conversation holder.
I suppose a lot of people, you do something like a Doctor Who, a Bond, a Star Wars, you sort of ticked all the boxes then. Are you similar that you'd like to go out and do some of these other iconic productions?
Yeah, definitely. But I've got a family as well, so I do like to work local. And especially at the moment, it's very unpredictable in our line of work. So I don't know what the next step would be in this, but I'm hoping it would be contracted work. So it's the only way I could see us getting around lockdown and not using too much CGI, because that's the worry for us, is when they could see, because CGI on Doctor Who is very good anyway, when they could replace us with some sort of CGI person. But hopefully it doesn't go down that route and we can move on.
Yeah, I don't think you can beat actually having people there and then that actual real crowd and the reactions. Hopefully not.
Yeah, I think exactly. Actors need something to react to, don't they? So yeah. Hopefully that would be, hopefully this lockdown, coronavirus won't affect it too much, or I hope people don't lose interest in the show like Doctor Who. And I mean, the interest in it's never been greater, hasn't it? Especially with the live shows and people are watching it. So, hopefully that would continue. I always wonder why they've never done a recent full film. They could do a feature-length movie, couldn't they? I guess. Doctor Who.
It's a joy of the format that you could do. You could take it in all sorts of directions.
Yeah.
One day they might do. I don't know. The BBC, I'm sure, would be behind it.
Yeah. And spin-off shows as well. It's so popular. Why not? Why are they not selling it more? Or I suppose you could overdo it, can't you?
Because you were involved with Class. How different a production was that to Doctor Who?
It was it seemed pretty much the same. And I only did a couple of days on it. The same sort of environment. It's pretty much the same setup, really. Because it only got one series, right? I think did it only go for one series?
Yes, yeah.
We had Torchwood, that went for a while, didn't it?
But there's a lot of the same faces across all of these, so I imagine it's sort of an extension of the main show, really.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And with the Class, they were just reaching for a different age group as well, weren't they? I guess bringing people into the brand.
So were you working on anything before lockdown happened? Anything that we can keep an eye out for?
So I've got like a semi-regular bit in Casualty. I'm like a barista there, so I've got a coffee cart at the back. Let me have a look. And I'd finished War of the Worlds last year, but the Fox version of it. So that was apparently going to go again. That was the hearsay of it, because I think people in America really enjoyed that. So hopefully that'll get another run. Trying to think what I did before. I did do a few days, but the industry in our area doesn't really get going until like February, March, which everything shut down then, didn't it?
Well, I think on the note of things to come, we touched upon just some of your career. I'd just like to say thanks very much for your time. It's been lovely to talk to you, James.
Thank you. Yeah, and you, Alex. Cheers. Thank you.